Another week and another devastating blow for Prime Minister Keir Starmer. The Gorton and Denton by-election, which took place yesterday, has resulted in Labour slipping down to third place, behind the Greens and Reform, in what should have been a Labour safe seat. The Greens secured 40.7% of the vote, Reform secured 28.7%, and Labour secured only 25.4%. This meant that the Green Party's Hannah Spencer will become the party's fifth MP, with a majority of 4,402 votes. Considering that this was Labour's 38th safest seat in the 2024 election, of the 411 that they won, this result serves only to plunge Starmer's leadership further into crisis, and will cause his Labour colleagues to question their own fate at the next election. It also raises some questions for Nigel Farage and Reform UK, given how confident they appeared in their ability to win it. Considering their dominance in the national polls, the fact that they lost both the Caerphilly Senedd by-election last year and now this one too, questions will be asked about their ability to turn polling into tangible results. So in this video, we're going to have a look at the results from last night, how we got here, and where the major parties go next. If you were to have a look at the composition of the House of Commons, everything would look normal. Labour and the Tories occupy the role of government and official opposition, and smaller parties don't have any real power. Out in the country, though, things are changing. Reform and the Greens are on the rise, and polling shows that they could be on the cusp of usurping the traditional parties. In the latest issue of Our magazine, we discuss this political fragmentation and explain how it could change the political fabric of British politics. That's just one of 72 pages in the magazine, because as always, there's more to Too Long than you'd expect. Purchase your copy by clicking the link in the description. Now, before explaining the actual results of the by-election, we should explain a bit more about the Gorton and Denton constituency. Established for the first time in 2024, it's an amalgamation of the former Manchester Gorton and Denton and Reddish, with a few wards from Manchester Withington added in. By many standards, this is a really strange constituency. Shaped like an axe, it contains voters from Manchester and voters from Tameside, both of which have very different demographics. The Tameside part of the constituency is significantly less diverse, with 82.6% of the Tameside wards being white, 86.2% being born in the UK, and only 5.9% being Muslim. Conversely, the Manchester wards are only 41.9% white, only 61.9% were born in the UK, and a huge 39.5% are Muslim. The divisions don't stop there either. The Tameside part of the constituency is older than the Manchester side. Tameside has a lower proportion of unemployed people than Manchester, and also has a lower proportion of people with a degree than the Manchester side. Similarly, when we turn to look at deprivation, we see a similar split among the Manchester and Tameside wards. 35 of the 40 neighbourhoods in the Manchester side of the constituency are in the two most deprived bands of deprivation, whereas only 8 neighbourhoods in the Tameside area are in the two most deprived bands. These differences in demographics mean that the two sides of Gorton and Denton seem to want different things from an MP. The Labour vote share in the 2024 general election was significantly higher in the Manchester side of the constituency, for instance. It's for these reasons that respected pollsters, such as Luke Trill, have questioned exactly what the Electoral Commission were thinking in creating this constituency, with them pointing out that there seems to be two separate, distinct communities wanting two distinct things. This was reflected in the analysis of the constituency leading up to the by-election. Using an MRP poll from January and recent census data, Josh Housden of Nowcast modelled how the constituency was split between Labour, the Greens and Reform. Unfortunately, it's too soon to see whether this was an accurate depiction of how people actually voted, but it does give a sense of just how split the constituency was. Anyway, enough about the constituency. What about the campaign? Well, this all kicked off in January, following the resignation of former Labour MP Andrew Gwynn. With what looked like a Labour safe seat up for grabs in the Greater Manchester region, many assumed that this would be a perfect constituency for Greater Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham to stand in. Although Burnham did signal his intention to stand, this was blocked by Labour's National Executive Committee, with them nominally claiming that it would lead to an unnecessary mayoral election. It was obvious, however, that the real reason, or at least the much more significant reason, was that Starmer was concerned, were Burnham to win the by-election, that he'd challenge Starmer for the leadership of the Labour Party. Leadership worries aside, a New Statesman poll comparing Labour's potential vote share with and without Burnham suggested Burnham would have won the seat for Labour. After this, it looked like the fight was mainly between the Greens and Reform. The Greens led a campaign trying to appeal to Muslim voters, speaking out against the Labour government's record on Gaza and posting campaign videos in both Urdu and Bangla. Reform criticised this, attempting to paint the Greens as being obsessed with Gaza, with them instead trying to focus on immigration and the declining economy. For the most part, the media seemed to buy into this and assume that the by-election would be a toss-up between the Greens and Reform. In the days that led up to the election, though, the Labour Party began to commit more resources to the by-election. The Prime Minister made the trip up to Gorton Denton and turned their focus on the Greens, particularly their stance on drug legalisation. Starmer claimed that the by-election was a battle of values and warned Green voters that they could split the anti-reform vote. While Labour had won every election in Gorton for almost 100 years, and every election in Denton since World War II, given their national polling decline and expectations that they would come a distant third, this sudden shift of focus appeared strange. As it turned out, opinion polling released the day after the Prime Minister's trip showed the Greens and Labour both on 28% and Reform on 27%. Perhaps then it was a three-horse race after all. In the end, the polling underestimated the Greens, and they secured 40.7% of the vote. Reform won 28.7%, and Labour secured only 25.4%, giving the Greens' Hannah Spencer a 12-point or 4,402 vote majority. There were probably a few different reasons that the result went the way that it did. Part of it's down to the strength of Hannah Spencer as a candidate. Spencer is a plumber and has lived in the Manchester area her whole life, giving her the ability to connect with voters. In her victory speech, she referenced this, stating, "To many customers, I'm sorry, but I might have to cancel the work, because I'm heading to Parliament, and when I get there, I'll make space for everyone doing jobs like mine." Another reason the result went the way that it did was likely Reform's underperformance. Now, we should say, Reform did actually improve their vote share from 14.1% in the 2024 election to 28.7%, and by all accounts, it wasn't a terrible result for them. However, given their national polling and given the discourse in the run-up to the by-election, it looked like a victory was possible. Their selection of Matt Goodwin as a candidate probably wasn't the best choice. He was accused by a young woman working at GB News of making inappropriate comments that she took to be sexual harassment. His views were also on the right of Reform UK, particularly on nationality, with him claiming it takes more than a piece of paper to make somebody British. Perhaps in a constituency in which 44% of people are from an ethnic background, this was a mistake. Similarly, Labour were not faultless in the election. Their rightward shift on issues like immigration and the fact that they haven't noticeably improved the economy for working people allowed the Greens to outflank them on the left. They didn't help themselves in the campaign either. They produced a leaflet from an organisation called Tactical Choice, urging people to vote Labour. The issue was, this wasn't a real organisation and was just essentially Labour campaign material, which demonstrated the underhanded tactics Labour were willing to use to try and win. So that's how we got here. But where do we go now? Well, all eyes are going to be on the Labour Party and how they react to this loss. This has only gone to serve Starmer's critics, who will now be able to argue that by sticking with him, even the safest of Labour seats are in danger. With the pressure ramping up, potential leadership challenges will now be weighing up whether or not now is the right time to move against the Prime Minister. Among them is Angela Rayner, who's been significantly helped by this result. As leader, she would likely move the party to the left, a move that now looks more sensible, given the loss of Gorton and Denton to the Greens. Nonetheless, it's worth not getting too ahead of ourselves. There are still the local Scottish and Welsh elections on May the 7th. If Starmer loses these, which polls suggest that he will, this will add yet more pressure. It's possible, likely even, that leadership challenges will wait until then to actually attempt to topple him. As we mentioned earlier, the latest edition of our magazine Too Long is out very soon. And if you subscribe using code SPRING26, then you'll get your first copy for as little as £4.99, as well as 20% off every future issue as long as you stay subscribed. As you can see, the latest issue's cover is the Disunited Kingdom, where we explore the different dividing lines in Britain today, from the growing political divides to the fracturing of the Union, the North-South divide, the gap between young and old, and many more. It's not all bleak though. We also discuss what unites us and how Britain could be fixed.
Across 72 pages, this issue of Too Long features a whole lot more than just that. We also have our full ranking of the world's most influential people, including profiles of some of the highest ranking people, including Donald Trump, Xi Jinping, Zoran Mamdani, the Pope, Mark Carney, and even Jeffrey Epstein. There's also the fragmentation emerging within the EU, an examination of social media bans around the world, how religion is being hijacked by politicians, as well as much, much more. You can pre-order your copy at toolong.news and remember to use code SPRING26 for the best ever price.